Greetings, scholars, and welcome to week 5. So, this week we are back to a standard schedule of having one chapter for this unit. So, we're starting unit 3. In staffing, we have chapter 5 this week and chapter 6 next week. So, at a different pace, but then next week we jump back to having 2 chapters in 1 week. So, let's take a look at to where we stand. As of right now, we are at 245 points. So, make sure that you are measuring your points in Blackboard against that to see where you currently stand. For this week, we have the career discussion number 2. So remember, your initial post is due by this Thursday, with your 2 replies due by Sunday, both by 10 p.m. each day. Another thing to look out for, your career exploration report is coming up. So it's not due until 2 weeks from now, but you want to make sure you're still doing each piece of it. So Sunday, April 7th is the actual due date. But again, make sure you're following along and doing each section as scheduled. That way you'll have it done and you can submit it early if you would like to. Another thing to keep in mind is the withdrawal date is this coming Sunday. That is April 1st. Is that Sunday? This coming Monday, April 1st. So make sure that you are paying attention to your grades. I understand there's a lot of things going on, but you want to make sure you're putting yourself in the best position to be successful. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to let me know. I'd be happy to work through this with you. So chapter 5, this module and the next module start to focus on management. So we're going to start with human resources, starting with that, with chapter 5. So just taking a quick look at some laws in HR. So one of the most important or most influential laws that affects human resources is the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and also prohibits sexual harassment in the workplace. So this is a very pivotal law that impacted human resources that is still useful and relevant today. I mean, there's many other ones, age discrimination, the Americans with Disability Act that also impact human resources, but the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is one of the most influential ones. Another thing we're going to discuss in this chapter is management by objectives. And one useful tactic that I feel is useful not just in this area, but in any area of your life, is that all of your objectives should follow these 5 steps. It should follow the SMART acronym. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and also time related. So this really helps you think about the full picture when it comes to your goals and your plans, making sure you're considering all your objectives and having a realistic goal that you can work toward. And then lastly, from this chapter, one important thing to talk about is turnover. So turnover is the rate at which employees leave an organization. So you think about the time that it takes to attract, recruit, interview, hire, train someone, right? All of the time and the money that's spent doing that, only for that same employee to leave 30 days down the road, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. So it's looking at the rate at which employees are coming through an organization. So turnover, as you can see here, is expensive. An average cost of $15,000 per employee leads to downsizing. Many different reasons why employees leave. Maybe something's wrong with the organization. Maybe it's the training. Maybe it's the opportunities. There's no one reason of why employees leave, but it's definitely something human resources professionals are looking at, and they're trying to determine what can we gain from this by knowing what our average turnover is. I have a really good friend who used to work as a field consultant with 7-Eleven, and she told me that the average turnover for their store employees was 30 days. And that, to me, definitely stood out, because that's saying that the organization knows that the average person they hire to work in their stores is only going to be there 30 days. To me, that says there's a lot of issues there. So HR professionals are consistently looking at turnover rates and trying to look at what they can gain from it and how they can improve on their turnover. Jumping to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is all about motivations. How do you get employees to do what you need them to do? How do you bring everybody on one accord? What's important to them? So ask yourself that. What motivates you to succeed? You can think about a classroom setting, you can think about your work setting, but what motivates you to keep wanting to push forward? So within this chapter, we're going to look at a variety of theories and why they think people are motivated. One of the first studies that was done is the Hawthorne effect. And this study says that the subjects being studied change their behavior because they're being observed and treated differently. So is that true? Think about yourself. If you're at work, if you're being observed or receiving special attention, would that cause you to work harder? So as we can see here, that people's performance is dependent on social issues and job satisfaction. So things such as choosing one's coworkers, working as a group, being treated special, or having a sympathetic supervisor are the real reasons why their productivity increased. Another age-old theory that comes to motivation was money. That simply said, if you pay people more, they will work harder. If you give them bonuses, they will work harder. Think about yourself. Is that still true for you? Would that change the situation at work if you're not in a good situation? Will more money change that? Would that be a reason for you to work harder, work longer hours, stay, etc.? Maslow is a really a reference or a study that's referenced a lot, not just in management, but psychology as well. So Maslow broke down our needs into 5 categories and says this is what motivates us to succeed. Our physiological, our safety, our belonging needs, our esteem, and self-actualization needs. You can be at a variety of these stages, but the theory is if you have not satisfied a lower level, you cannot work on a higher level. So thinking about safety, physiological needs are your basic needs: food, water, shelter. If you're coming to work and those needs aren't satisfied, you don't have somewhere to live, you're not sure what you're going to eat for dinner, it's really going to be hard for you to focus on being productive at work. It's really going to be hard for you to be motivated and to want to do well. So until you satisfy those lower level needs, you won't be able to focus on those higher level needs. And lastly, within Chapter 6, let's look at 2 main ways to change someone's behavior. Essentially is reinforcement and punishment. Reinforcement you can describe as a reward. Punishment is a consequence. So if you want an employee to continue doing what they're doing, you need to reinforce it. You need to add a stimulus. It has to be, it should be a positive stimulus. So something that says, keep up the good work, keep moving in this direction. If you want to decrease or change somebody's behavior, then that's the punishment. The punishment needs to be tied directly to the behavior. So that sends the message that you cannot continue doing this. If so, then these consequences are going to hurt. So 2 main ways to change somebody's behavior. If you want that behavior to continue, then you do reinforcement to increase it. If you want the behavior to stop, then you do punishment, a negative consequence. All right, so that's starting our focus into management. We'll follow up with some more chapters next week. Have an amazing week.